Honorable members, it's exactly 9 o'clock according to my watch. Good morning. Honorable members, Minister Ivan Meyer, heads of department, Dr. Morale. I've seen Mayor Joseph just came in, esteemed officials, members of the media and both present and following us online. Distinguished members of the public that are present here, Huyomore, good morning, Sanibonani, Molweni. I'm pleased to extend a warm welcome to each of you as we convene the second meeting of the 7th Parliament of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism. Honorable members, we face a critical decision today. We can either rush this particular meeting and presentation and risk overlooking vital information, or we can allow the departments the necessary time to comprehensively present their reports. Our oversight work, honorable members, is dependent on our understanding of the work being done by the two departments, which is the Economic Development and Tourism, as well as Agriculture. We requested this department to provide us with an overview of their work. Colleagues, should we not complete our work today, I propose a follow-up meeting on the 20th. I will defer to you, honorable members, and the respective department regarding the time required for a thorough deliberations in this meeting. Our initial agenda allocates 45 minutes for the Department of Agriculture to present, followed by a 20-minute session with the Casidra, amounting to a total of 1 hour, 5 minutes, concluding at around 10:30. Members will have the opportunity to have questions. We have allocated 2 rounds for questions from members, after which we will transition to the presentation of the Department of Economic Development and Tourism. Honorable members, it is imperative that both departments remain for the entirety of the meeting, as Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism are intrinsically linked. I did discuss this with the Minister as well as the DG on Agriculture regarding this matter. Honorable members, I assure you that any unfinished business will be addressed in our subsequent meetings. This session is designed to equip the committee with the insights needed to formulate decisive actions and resolutions. This, honorable members, may include requests for further information, recommendations to the departments or entities, such as oversight visit and so forth. Accompanying me today is our procedural officer, who will introduce herself, as well as the committee assistants. I kindly request that each member introduce themselves by stating their full name. There is no need, honorable members, to indicate your political affiliation, as we are a multi-party committee dedicated to serving the interests of residents of the Western Cape. Thank you. Can we proceed with the introduction? Minister, do you want to go first?
Yes, Ivan Meyer, MEC for Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism. Thank you for this opportunity.
Dave Bryant, member of the Western Cape Parliament.
Beauty Stoffels, alternate member of the committee.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, MEC. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Noel Constable. I'm a member of this committee. Thank you.
Good morning, Department, and good morning, colleagues. Noma French Mbombo, the permanent member of this committee.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everybody. My name is Khalil Barankis, and I'm a member of the Agricultural Committee of the Western Cape Parliament.
Good morning, Chair, Department. Derek Wessels, and I'm a member of the committee. Thanks.
Can you proceed?
Good morning. My name is Shireen Nikirk, and I'm the procedural officer for this committee. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nopun Roshimpela, committee assistant.
Minister, I hand it over to you. I don't know who's going to do the introduction. HOD, thank you.
Chair, good morning to you and to the members, and thanks again for inviting us. Mukhale Sebopetsa, Head of Agriculture. I'm going to ask my team members to introduce themselves and what they do at the department.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members and colleagues. Lindy Govender, I'm the CFO in Agriculture.
Welcome.
Good morning, Chair and members. Dr. Ilse Troutman, I'm the Deputy Director General for Agricultural Research and Regulatory Services at the department.
Good morning, Chairperson, members. Daryl Jacobs, Deputy Director General, Agricultural Development and Support Services.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Keith du Plessis, Chief Executive Officer, CASIDRA.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Freek van Zyl, CFO, CASIDRA.
Morning, everybody. My name is Leonie Seconds. I'm the Human Capital Manager at CASIDRA.
Good morning, everybody. David Neff, Chief Program Officer at CASIDRA.
Thank you. We can proceed.
Morning, everyone. I'm Annelien Swanepoel. I'm Acting Chief Director for Research and Technology Development Services with Agriculture.
Thank you. Can I request that we put our mic on?
Sorry, good morning, Chairperson. Jerry R is responsible for agricultural producer support and development. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members. Bongiso Matoti, responsible for agricultural economic services. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. Asia Peterson, responsible for sustainable resource use and management.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members. Jackie Bandarum, I'm the CD responsible for rural development.
Chairperson and members, good morning. Paul Rockman, Chief Director, Operational Support Services.
Good morning, Chair and members. Dirk Troski, responsible for business planning and strategy.
Good morning, members. Good morning, Chairperson. I'm Daniel Johnson. I'm the Media Liaison Officer in the Ministry.
Over to you, Minister. Can we maybe just let the economic development also to introduce themselves if they're all here?
Oh, yes. I think we can start with the HOD.
Good morning, Standing Committee. My name is Jane Johnston. I'm Head of Department of the Department of Economic Development and Tourism.
Good morning, Ilse van Skalkwyk. I'm the Acting DDG at DDAT.
Good morning, everyone. Olivia Dyers. I'm in the digital economy team at DDAT.
Morning, Chair and others. Rashid Tawfiq, DDG in DDAT. I'll say a little bit more. I'm in charge of various levers within the department: skills development, the enterprise development and ease of doing business, and consumer protection, among other things. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Cheryl Chulis, Strategic and Operational Support within Department of Economic Development and Tourism.
Good morning. I am Kudwal Dingan, responsible for agri-processing in the department. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. Faye Darcy, Economic Development and Tourism, Regional and Local Economic Development.
Good morning, everybody. Joshua Wonderens, Enterprise Development.
Members, Jacques Stolz, Director of Tourism.
Morning, everybody. John Peters, Department of Economic Development and Tourism, Program Manager for Enterprise Development, Rate of Reduction, and Municipal Economic Support.
Can I just request that you move closer to the mic so that we can have you on record?
Good morning, everyone. Bandile Ngolomba, and I'm in the Rate Production Unit. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Kheti Mulemane. I'm from Freeport Sultana IDZ. I head up the Infrastructure and Environment Unit. Thank you.
Good morning. Maimuna Abrams, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, everyone. Michelle Ellis, Head of Rate Production in DDAT. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Shirai Baks. I'm from the Department of Economic Development and Tourism, and I'm representing the Research, Economic Policy and Planning Unit. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Fernal Abrams in the Catalytic Infrastructure Unit in DDAT. Thank you.
Nizam Joseph, CD Skills Development and Innovation.
Hello, everyone. Good day. My name is Rahim Elogde. I'm Director for Skills Incentives.
Good morning. My name is Matt Cullinan. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Atlantis Special Economic Zone for Green Technologies. Thanks.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. I'm Friedelaine Brandt, and I'm the Company Secretary of the Atlantis Special Economic Zone.
Good morning. My name is Wahida Saib. I'm the CFO at the Atlantis SEZ.
Are we done?
Good morning, everybody. Chantal van Niekerk. I'm part of the Skills Development team at DDAT.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members. My name is Herman Jonker. I'm in a unit called Industrial Coordination, working on green hydrogen, some of the work on the ports and logistics system, and also oversight over Saldanha Bay IDZ. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, honourable members, fellow colleagues. I'm Joe McArnold, and I'm the Head of Communications for the Department of Economic Development and Tourism.
Good morning. I'm Ivan Mason, and I'm the General Manager for Element Foods.
Are we done, HOD? Okay, thank you. So, Minister and honourable members, we thought it is important that we had the two departments here today, really primarily because the next meetings that we're going to have it online. So it is important that members get to see the faces of the people that are representing the department. As I did indicate that we might not be able to conclude all the presentations. If we're not able to conclude the presentations, we will proceed next week, but that meeting will be virtual meeting. It will not be in person. Minister, I want to, before I hand over to you, are we correct?
Yes, we are coded, Chairperson.
Okay, thank you. Minister, I hand over to you. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chair, and thank you to the members of the committee. What you see before us are both the Department of Agriculture and Economic Development and Tourism, and I think it was a wise decision to bring them together, and I will now explain why it is a wise decision. Firstly, we not only have the Department of Agriculture, we also have a state-owned company that had for the last 30 years a clean audit. Nobody in South Africa has this record of this company called Casidra. So the CEO of Casidra and these members and the CFO are also represented. I'm very proud of the work that Casidra is doing. In addition, we have the Department of Economic Development and Tourism, and I've recently appointed the HOD, Ms. Joanne Johnson, an outstanding candidate, and I'm very proud of the work that she is doing and also leading her department. But apart from that, you also have with them Wesgrow, our tourism, trade and investment promotion agency. I'm extremely proud of them. You will hear later why, part of their presentation. But they also supported here today by the Saldanha IDZ, and I'm very thankful that the colleagues came through from Saldanha IDZ, as well as colleagues from Atlantis SEZ, dealing specifically with the green energy and things like that. And so this is the team that is responsible for growing the economy. Our plan is to create an economy, a 1 trillion rand economy by the year 2035. In order to do that, we rely heavily on the work that they are doing in particular, and I'm very proud of the work. By 2035, we intend to create about 600,000 new jobs, creating a GDP growth of 5%, and that will be outlined when you see the scale and scope of work. Primarily, this team, everybody here, also have 7 what we call priority focus areas. And these focus areas deal specifically with issues like investment, and I will speak about the investment. To grow the economy, you need investment, and there's an investment priority focus areas. The second one deals with exports. This is the export region, both the agriculture. In fact, 8 of the 10 products that we export from the Western Cape, 8 of the 10 comes from the agricultural base. So there's direct and indirect base for agriculture. So exports are significant. In fact, we want to triple our exports by the year 2035, which includes tourism and goods and services. So that's exports. Also for us, very importantly, and you will hear some of the colleagues here, another focus area for us in the Western Cape is energy. You will note that the Western Cape has an ambitious energy plan. Our plan is to generate 5,700 megawatt, 4,000 megawatt we currently use from Eskom. The plan is already 2,000 megawatts is already in the system for procurement, alternative energy, and we're very proud of the new further developments in terms of the context of hydrogen. So there's quite a lot of work that is happening in that space. And in that context, the Western Cape government, the Eastern Cape government, and the Northern Cape government has signed a cooperation agreement in the space of green hydrogen. So there's lots of work happening in that space, and I'm very proud of the work that both the DDAT as well as the Energy Council of the Premier and SEZ and Atlantis doing in this space. This is going to revolutionize the Western Cape economy. So apart from that, we also have, very importantly, you cannot grow the economy unless, Mr. Brinkhuis, you have enough water. So don't say we have enough water now. We talk about a 30-year plan. When you go to Japan, they will tell you, yes, our 100-year plan. So luckily, through the work of Minister Bredel, we now have a 15-year.
You talk through the chair. Thank you.
Mr. Brinkhuis is my friend. Chair, Honorable Brinkhuis. Yes, so we also have a water plan with this cabinet. So water is also one of this priority focus areas. In addition to that, 2 other things very important for us. Number 1 is infrastructure. We have a 30 billion rand budget over the next 3 years for infrastructure. You cannot grow the economy unless you have a sustainable infrastructure pipeline. So infrastructure is also part of the priority focus areas. And also in innovation, very key driver of this Western Cape economy. And then also for us, access to employment opportunities. So that's the scale and the scope of the work. And all of them that sit here are responsible for those 7 priority focus areas as part of the growth for jobs. So I'm very proud of the work that they are doing. But like you, I've got now a new department. Like you, I will now learn also what they are doing. And so we're on the same journey. We are equal now. I know as little as you know, so we can grow together in this new journey of economic development and tourism and SEZ and IDZ. And I'm very proud of the work that they are doing. We will now move immediately into the presentation. While the presentation deal with the first question, I will only speak to this, and then my head of the department will speak about the rest. I have listened to the Saldanha IDZ. I listened to Atlantis SEZ. I've listened to Casidra. I've listened to Economic Development and Tourism, and I've listened to the Department of Agriculture, and I've listened to Westgrow. After all this listening campaigns, I concluded that this new ministry that I'm now responsible for will be having 4 ministerial priorities. Number 1, agricultural support. And in fact, just saw that I brought a booklet for those members of this committee. There is a booklet on agricultural support, so we're happy to share this at a later stage. The second leg is business support. And then for me, very importantly, because I've engaged with the sector, and food security and nutrition, very important. I had initially only food security, but my HOD said, Minister, we must put nutrition there. Last week, I attended a MINMEC with the new National Minister of Agriculture, and in that meeting, we received a presentation also by food security and nutrition. It is significantly important, so that's why I have it as a ministerial priority. And because we are responsible for 55% of South Africa's primary agricultural exports, I made market access very important, also a priority. So in this 5 years, I will be driving those priorities. You see in the middle, my number 1 priority is focusing on the jobs. But jobs is the big thing, but to create jobs, agriculture is a growing sector of the economy. By the way, it's 11% of the GDP growth of this province, 4% primary agriculture, 7% secondary agriculture, the so-called agri-processing. And you've heard some of the people here presented themselves as working in the agro-processing and market access division. So that's the line. What is it when I sleep at night? What is it that I want to say is the plan for tomorrow? I want jobs and food on the table. That's what I want. I want this committee to rally behind me. We must grow the economy to create jobs, and we must get food on the table. I don't want jobs and no food on the table. This government is a government for the poor. The poor need to have access to jobs, and they must have food on the table. And food security is very significant. Last year, the HOD and I went to Italy, to the United Nations, and we met our colleagues from the CPS, the Committee on Food Security. This is very significant, and we think we can leverage also on that work on food security. Chair, that's my opening slide. I'm now handing over to my HOD, and together we are now on the same journey because, like you, I'm 2 weeks in this job. You 2 weeks in the job. Let's journey together. Let's learn together. And we are very happy, as you said, that the scale and the scope of the work is so deep that I think maybe, as you rightly pointed out, 2, 3 follow-up meetings may be required to understand the depth of the work of this department. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. HOD, you can proceed. Thank you.
Chair, thank you very much. It's about 43 slides, and it will be a tag team between myself and my EXCO. We will try as far as possible to manage time, but suffice to say that everything we're trying to do as this department is to change the numbers that you see on the screen. Agriculture and agri-processing, in terms of the latest figures, about 9% of the GDP of the province, which is about 656 billion rands. In terms of employment, about 16% of all jobs in the province, and there's about 2.8 million people that are employed in the province, so 16% of those are within the space of agriculture. And agriculture, of course, is the most competitive sector of the economy in all our rural districts in the province. And if we want to change the rural-urban migration, it becomes a no-brainer that we invest a lot of time and resources into agriculture, because it is that sector that will ensure that people stay where they are in the rural areas. And of course, the second most competitive sector of the economy is tourism, which I'm sure my colleagues will talk to when they make their presentation quite later today. So export non-tariff barriers, very important for us, because as the Western Cape, we are the agricultural hub of South Africa. Over 50% of what South Africa produces, exports from agriculture are actually originating from this province. And therefore, for us, we are concerned about the geopolitical issues, issues around false codling moth and citrus black spot. And the recent issues around Namibia and Botswana in terms of agricultural products. It becomes very important for us that we find a way to unlock those, because South Africa being the second producer of citrus after Spain, it becomes very important for us that we find mechanisms to ensure that our businesses are able to export these quality products elsewhere in the country. And we see this, in the world, we see this as measures that are, in our view, protectionist approach, which somewhat needs to be attended to. Of course, I've indicated approximately 50% of South Africa's agricultural primary products are actually exported. They originate from this province of the Western Cape. If nothing else, Chairperson and members, those are the numbers we want to change. You look at Minister's priorities, agricultural support, business support, food security and nutrition, and market access. We believe strongly that if we change those numbers, life will be better for the majority of the citizens in our province. You asked us, Chairperson, in terms of what is the mandate. We are, of course, bound by Act 108 of 1996, which defines agriculture as a concurrent function in terms of Schedule A that includes agriculture, animal control diseases, disaster management, regional planning and development, soil conservation, urban and rural development, but of course, in terms of exclusive mandate for us as provinces, abattoirs, and veterinary services. And I think at some point we'll share with the committee as to our plans around addressing the concerns that we have when it comes to vet services. Of course, the Constitution of the Western Cape is very important for us. It is also a piece of legislation that guides everything that we do. National legislation, Public Service Act, of course, your Public Finance Management Act, PAIA and Subdivision of Agricultural Land Act, Animal Diseases Act, Animal Protection Act, and Meat Safety Act. But of course, there are many other pieces of legislation that we are required to adhere to as a department. Of course, the next slide, it's a long list of legislation that we have to implement, but also have to comply with as a government department. I'm sure that is something that members can read at leisure. I'm going to pause here now, maybe just to give you the next slide, just the organogram as you asked. You asked that we limit it up to the program manager level. That is the structure, and everybody that is on that picture is in the room today. So at least members can tell who's Dr. Ilse Tautman and who's Darrell Jacobs and who's Lindy Govender. They are all in the room. Suffice to say that in terms of our organizational structure, we ought to have about 1,600 persons on our establishment, 1,600. We actually, as we speak, have only 860 persons, and that should tell you a story that we operate with only half the capacity we need. But we're not also oblivious to the current economic reality and believe that a miracle is going to happen, that we have all our posts filled. It's never going to happen, not in the current economic climate. And therefore, as we list the number of challenges for every branch and every program, we also will be detailing to you what we are doing to address those. And our mantra, chairperson of the department, is that we believe in the principle of partnership and collaboration. We have achieved all we've achieved up to now through partnering and collaborating with like-minded people in the province. I want to pause here and allow my DDGs to then come in terms of the branches, and obviously conclude with the colleague, Dr. Trautman, who will also share information, chairperson, that you did not ask, but we thought it was important, as this is an introductory session, that we also make you aware as to the state of readiness with respect to the development of the new strategic plan for the next 5 years and all the required legislative documents. I want to, with the permission, chairperson, hand over to Darrell Jacobs.
Thank you very much, HOD. Good morning again, Chair and members. I'll be covering 4 programs that I'm directly responsible for. Program 2, starting there, Sustainable Resource Use and Management. This is about providing agricultural support services to land users in order to ensure sustainable development and the management of natural resources. Program 2 is separated or split into 4 sub-programs: agricultural engineering services, land care, which promotes the sustainable use and management of natural agricultural resources by engaging in community-based initiatives. There's land use management, which promotes the preservation, sustainable use, and management of agricultural land through administration of the Conservation of Agricultural Resources Act and Subdivision of Agricultural Land Act. And the 4th area is that of disaster risk reduction, which provides agricultural disaster risk reduction support services to producers and other clients. And I have no doubt that members are aware that within agriculture we've been beset with a number of disasters. That's the sub-program that effectively oversees the entire support. The next program is Program 3, Agriculture Producer Support and Development. And the purpose thereof is to provide support to producers through agricultural development programs, enable and support transformation of the agricultural sector, to actively contribute to economic growth, inclusion, equality, and the creation of decent work, and to increase food production through producer support and development initiatives. That's split into 4 sub-programs, namely producer support services, That's about providing producer support services in line with national policy on comprehensive producer development support, extension and advisory services, which is about transferring skills, transferring knowledge and skills development. Third area is that of food security, which is about supporting and advising and coordinating the implementation of the national policy on food and nutrition security. And the fourth area is that of CASIDRA, that's just oversight around supporting the department with project implementation and state farm management. That's specifically the two state farms, Vaikraal and Amalienstein, and they will probably speak to that later on. The third area, the third program over which I've oversight for is that of agricultural education and training. That's specifically Elsenburg, and that's about providing and facilitating structured and vocational agricultural education and training. Academic programs are offered at the higher education and training level as well as agricultural skills development levels. And the following qualifications are obtained. Our major qualification is the Bachelor of Agriculture, which is a 3-year qualification at NQF 7. Then we have the Diploma in Agriculture at NQF 6. And equine studies, as well as a number of vocational programs, which is a minimum of 10 months, as well as non-formal short courses, which range from 2 to 10 days. In terms of Program 8, Chairperson and members, that's around rural development. That's to coordinate the developmental programs by stakeholders in rural areas. The Rural Development Program consists of 3 sub-programs, namely Rural Development Coordination, then there's Social Facilitation, and the third area of farm worker development is around enhancing the image and the socio-economic conditions of agri-workers and their family members through facilitation of training and development initiatives. It's also out of this particular sub-program that the department runs its flagship prestige agri-worker competition, which is currently underway. And even though it's not a sub-program, the program is also responsible for coordinating rural safety in the agricultural sector and farming communities through collaboration with the Department of Police Oversight and Community Safety, SAPS, the district municipalities, and organized agriculture. If we touch on just some of the high-level achievements and challenges within the branch, we have recently done an independent evaluation and found that 68.1% of our graduates were more likely to be employed or were successful in terms of employment. We've also obtained accreditation from the Quality Council for Trades and Occupations for livestock farm supervisor and orchard and vineyard foreman qualifications. We've signed a number of MOUs with commodity partners. Currently, we have about 11 MOUs that we've signed in terms of the commodity approach strategy. We've driving the issue of blended financial support to farmers through involvement of banks in our delivery structures. We've also done very recently our third iteration of our land reform study, and that showed and revealed an 83% success rate in terms of land reform. We've driven the One Home, One Food Garden, One Garden project to facilitate access to food security and nutrition at household level, provided support to the sector in conserving, restoring, and utilizing natural agricultural resources. We've driven a project around alien plant removal, river protection works, fence construction, created 1,417 green jobs during 23-24. We've also, through our rural development program, driven 10 substance abuse awareness and prevention projects, labor rights, 10 information and awareness sessions to a total of 871 beneficiaries. The last area I want to focus on, Chairperson and members, is that of some of our challenges. HOD has already spoken about the capacity issues, and a link to that is the decline in budgets, the impact of climate change, which makes it extremely difficult for first-generation farmers to mitigate the risks. And we recognize that rural households are also at significant risk. We have a battle to attract technical skills such as engineers and technicians, availability of good quality water, and the Minister has spoken to that. That is critical for agricultural production. We have recognized that a number of farmers and producers that do not always act on good business advice. Ownership of land reform farms is a challenge for financial institutions to approve loans. There's a dependency by some on conditional grants due to sub-economical farms or production units. There's a lack of sufficient, for the students, lack of sufficient hostel accommodation at the Elsenburg Agricultural Training Institute. And in terms of our rural areas, the critical need to address the widespread socioeconomic needs of rural and agri-worker communities, and that's also created a number of social ills which affect the society at large and require integrated, sustainable rural development initiatives and interventions. Thank you, Chairperson and members.
Good morning, Chairperson and members, once again. Let me introduce the Branch Agricultural Research and Regulatory Services to you, comprising of 3 programs. The first one is veterinary services. The name says it all. And the purpose is to provide veterinary services to clients in the Western Cape in order to ensure healthy animals, sustainable and profitable animal production enterprises, the safe trade in animals and products of animal origin, and the well-being of animals and the public. And the latter part is very important. The sub-programs: animal health, food safety, veterinary laboratories, and veterinary international trade and facilitation. The names of the sub-programs very descriptive, really looking after the health of animals. Food safety, making sure that the food that we do produce are safe, including obviously the abattoirs. And the veterinary laboratories. We have a provincial veterinary laboratory. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And then the veterinary international trade facilitation, support the exports of livestock and products to international destinations. And we've got a growing demand in that regard. In terms of Program 5, Research and Technology Development Services, the purpose of the program is to provide and support farmers with expert problem focus and client-centric research, technology development and transfer, impacting on development and sustainability. 3 sub-programs: agricultural research, technology transfer services, and then research infrastructure support services, which also include 7 research farms. The services, I can list all of them, but just highlighting a few. Technical advice to producers, commercial and smallholder. We do that on and off farm. Avail superior animals to our producers. We've got analytical and diagnostic laboratories. As I mentioned, 7 research farms to support our own research efforts, but also those of external partners like universities and the ARC. Then also we've got some technology development and smart tools like Cape Farm Mapper and the GIS unit. We have launched a Smart Agri Plan to be a roadmap to resilience against climate change in the Western Cape, and then obviously developing some smart decision-making tools. The last program is Agriculture Economic Services, a good link between this program and also our colleagues at DDAT, focusing on timely and relevant agriculture economic services to ensure equitable participation in the economy and obviously also create jobs. Focus on production economics, marketing and agribusiness, agricultural statistics, macro and resource economics, and then very important also linking to our sister department, agri-processing support. Due to time constraints, I will not go into the details of each of those. The challenges and the achievements of the branch. We're very proud that the Provincial Veterinary Laboratory was relaunched and opened in May 2024, a few months ago. It is ISO 17025 accredited. The laboratory is 51 years old, which is a major achievement for us, and it's been upgraded to really state-of-the-art. And we thank DOI for their support in that case. We also launched the first annual Provincial Veterinary Week last year, and this year we will have it in October. The ecosystem, the Export Certification Office system, is modern, it's digitizing our reporting systems and our export certification, and it is really a super program for livestock exports. Launched the Agri-Processing on Wheels project in 2022, where we take agri-processing in small food trucks out to rural communities to also train our youth. We were very proud that the Food Safety System Certification 22,000 was rewarded or awarded to the Agri-Processing Hub. We're one of 32,000 institutions worldwide to obtain this accreditation, and it's a first for government. We are pioneering in conservation agriculture, and that was the reason also that we, as the department, were co-hosting the 9th World Conference on Conservation Agriculture last month. The Smart Agri Plan, I think it's very well known, and linked to that is the recent signed Mediterranean Climate Action Partnership, and also an MOU with the Stellenbosch University School for Climate Studies to bolster our impact and our efforts in the climate change environment in agriculture. And then also the Market Access Program taking advantage of the Africa Free Trade Agreement. Challenges, there will always be challenges. The list is slightly shorter than the achievements. The frequency of disease outbreaks, at the moment we are keeping foot and mouth out of our province, really a concerted effort from the veterinary team to do that. We've been inundated with rabies cases, also lately in seals, and other types of disease outbreaks that we should be ready for. The demand for our veterinary services is really outpacing the available resources and funding. And in all the programs of the branch, the current personnel establishment is not adequate to meet the rapidly evolving operational environment. Declining budgets across the branch, but especially also in veterinary services with the increase in demands for services, as well as research and technology development, where we have the maintenance of the farms, the feeding and maintenance of the herds and flocks, and then obviously the equipment related to research. With that, I would like to hand over to the head of department again. Thank you.
Thank you. I will then take us through the next few slides on the finance sub-program of Program 1. We have a very standard structure. As the CFO, I head up the sub-program, and we have two directorates: financial management, that ensures management accounting and financial accounting services in the department. The second directorate being supply chain and asset management, and then a last sub-directorate, which is internal control, and they render internal control services to the entire department. I think in terms of the achievements, our main focus as finance is the achievement of clean audit outcomes. And I can say that this department has over 10 years, probably closer to 20 clean audits, which is also unheard of, and a great achievement for this department. And just some highlights of the most recent audit: we've spent 98%, just over 98% of our budget, which is well within that 2% norm of underspending. There's been no material findings on the financial statements and also no changes to the financial statements during the audit. We've had no findings on our performance information, and we have achieved 95% of our performance targets for 23-24, and there's been no findings also on our compliance to legislation or internal control deficiencies identified. If we can then move to the next slide. Just some challenges. I think as you've heard from all the both DDGs, A big challenge for us, of course, is the reduced budget, specifically on our equitable share. We have allocations of conditional grants as well as earmarked funds, but then our equitable share is really under pressure because of rising costs. We also have what we call must pays, which is unique to this department, based on the location of the department at Elsenburg and all the outlying offices as well, which we'll get to a bit later. And I think even though if you'll see on the next slides, it seemed like the budget has increased slightly, it really is because of once-off earmarked funding allocations. So the net or the real change is actually a decline and not an increase. Then again, the complexity of the supply chain management prescripts, not only being quite a struggle for us in terms of fitting a biological system, which is not always easy and it requires a lot of planning, and any type of delay really impacts very negatively on our service delivery and our beneficiaries. Another challenge we face is our late or any late receipts of our funding from our national department, which we often experience. This really makes cash flow management quite difficult, and also the time you're spending of funds becomes a challenge because of late receipts. Another challenge we would like to mention is the new responsibilities that is imposed on accounting officers in terms of ICT governance. This has severe consequences for the accounting officer if this is neglected, and it really necessitates the appointment of properly technically qualified persons to support the AO. Currently, that function is an add-on to the CFO designation as the chairperson of the steering committee, but it really it does require some attention. I think it's an issue across the province at the moment. And then, of course, the financial systems that we use, it really makes innovation and our strategic support to the department challenging because it is quite outdated in terms of what it can do. This is just a quick snapshot on our budget for this current financial year on the economic classification level. There I just want to highlight, you'll see our budget is just over R1 billion, with 45% of that budget allocated to compensation of employees and about 23% on goods and services. You'll see transfers and subsidies is 293 million, which is about 29% of the total allocation. And within that line, we have earmarked funds allocated of about 122 million and government grants of 176 million. This is also the first year that we've experienced some cuts in our national grants, which also has a negative impact, of course, in what we have to deliver. The next two slides is what we just wanted to reflect on and what we refer to as must pays, which are unique costs that we as agriculture has to carry, which other departments do not carry. And this comes basically from our equitable share allocation. So you have to service these costs first, which really then impacts on what's left for actual service delivery by the programs. This includes municipal costs like your water and electricity. We pay for security, our own security services. We are not part of the transversal contract. Cleaning services, we have a cafeteria for staff as there's no shops and malls nearby. Of course, also things like fuel for our farms and the generators, as well as internet services, because we are not currently migrated like the rest of the province on the one system. So that makes it quite challenging, and it takes away operational funds. I've just shown how that is split across the different programs, with the majority being in program 1. But as you can see, all the programs carry some of that cost. It is about 5% of our total budget allocation, and this excludes then also the core funding that we transfer to Casidra as our public entity, which is about 38 million a year. Thank you.
Chairperson, a quick brief on operational support services. So part of our responsibility is the corporate relations unit, coordination support and archives. And as you all know, the corporate services center provides that agency personnel and HR agency service to 11 departments. And we need to find that, and so under my chief directorate, they'd have to build that solid relationships and liaise with corporate services center on all of the HR matters. Also, you'd under that section is the records and enterprise content management, otherwise known as archives, We also provide security and the occupational health services. And we have 44 sites, agriculture, spread across the province. Of course, the main center is Elsenburg and the college. And part of that 44 sites are 20 leased-in buildings. But of course, we need to ensure that the security service is there as well. We also maintain our own grounds, and so we have infrastructure support, both liaising with DOI, but also on occasion having to source in services to provide that standard of infrastructure for all of our personnel to perform their services. Then, I think very exciting part of our duty is to ensure that we have a healthy future. And so we have external development initiatives. And here we really want to ensure that the agricultural sector has a pipeline of talent and is blessed with talented and competent young people. And so we're quite intentional about providing scholarships to grade 10 and 12 learners in our schools, agricultural schools. There are 3 of them in the province. Then bursary assistance for undergrad and postgraduate studies. There's a matric internship program as well. And then we also have a young professionals persons program, and that is targeted at your honors, masters, and doctoral students. And so all of that effort, we hope, will translate into absolutely competent persons in the agricultural sector. Let me just add, we have the internship program where there are 120 COSP graduates placed at what we call host employers, and those host employers are farmers. They placed at farms. So government pays the stipend for these graduates, and they are placed at farms to experience the world of work, to be mentored there, and then with the hope and promise that they then enter the agricultural sector as successful young people. Thank you.
Chairperson, thank you very much. So much of the last part is the area I'm responsible for. So the one part I'm responsible for is our statutory documents. In other words, the strategic plan, annual performance plan, and those. And in a later slide, I will just indicate to you what is our plan during the development of our strategic plan. Then I'm also responsible for the coordination of monitoring and evaluations. I'll show you the list of the 40 evaluations we've completed over the past decade. But I think what is very important here is what we try to do is we say we've got a solid theory of change or a reason why we're doing certain things. What we can easily monitor, what we can count, are the inputs that we provide, our activities and outputs. And those are the indicators that you will find in our annual performance plan. But there are a number of things that's much more difficult to measure on a quarterly or on an annual basis. And those are the things that we have got an evaluation program where we, on the one hand, we evaluate diagnostics. In other words, where we say, what is the impact of the 4th Industrial Revolution on the Western Cape agricultural sector? That's a diagnostic like when you go to the doctor take your pulse and look in your ear and say, okay, this is what is happening. So we do that. And on the other part of the spectrum, we look at impact and things like that. And I'll come back to that just now and explain also why we are doing that. We are also responsible for coordinating intergovernmental policy, compliance and reporting, both at local, provincial, national and international level. We are not the Republic of the Western Cape. We are part of South Africa. So we need to implement also national mandates. And I think what is also important is that there are no agricultural project described by our 2 DDGs that does not have a footprint in a local government. So in other words, everything we do, we must make sure that it's linked to all 30 local governments in the province. So that is part of our responsibility. I'm also responsible for client engagement. And that so twice a year we've got the stakeholder engagement. And what we also do is we try to the services that we render. You know, there's about 17,000 farmers in the province. And quite a large number of those farmers do not know what the department do. So in your pack, you will find an A to Z of services. That is all the services that we render. We've got an easy reference guide that we want to use to show our farmers what are the services that we do. But we also select 4 agricultural shows a year. One is normally Nampo, George Show, we go the end of this month. We Clan William and Beaufort West were the other 2 that we did this year. And the focus of that is to take our services to our clients, the farmers. Most of the farmers are at the agricultural shows, so this is where we engage with them. And we've got a major services exhibition there. What we also then, with that, we invite schools in the area, take them through the careers in agriculture, a vet, an engineer, an economist, researcher. We try to show that. And once a year, we've got in a very remote area. Normally, it's either Beaufort West, Maritzburg. Next year, we will do in Uniondale, where we, with all the universities in the area or in South Africa, we do a career exhibition, which is not only agriculture, but it is wider than that. I'm also responsible for communications, so we do a whole number of events. And there are some of those events that are very key, like our Prestige Agri Awards, where we normally also invite the standing committee. We've got publications like AgriProbe, that's also in your pack. We do radio programs. We've got 2 radio programs, the one on RSG on a Saturday morning, the other on a Friday morning. And we are also now in the process to see to what extent we can also get a series of COSA programs going. And then we're also responsible for media relations. And then there are a number of strategic projects, which I really like because this is where the interesting stuff come in. So I refer to the 4th IR, and we are currently with a project busy to calculate the impact of lions and brown hyenas from the Karoo National Park on farming in the area. So those are the type of strategic things that we do. This is our roadmap towards our next strategic plan. So I think what is important that we consider development of a strategic plan is not an event. It is a process. And this process, we've built an evidence base over the past 40 or the past 10 years. We've completed 40 evaluations and other research projects. We've also documented the Sacramento plan, and I don't have the time to go into the detail of that, but the minister and myself started to develop that. Part of this process, we've also appointed a research team to look at our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, partly from the evaluation based from these 40 reports. But what we've also done is we've done an electronic survey amongst our clients. What are the opinion of our clients on what are our strengths, weaknesses, but also on our officials. And there are very interesting results coming out of that. And actually, next week, we will have our strategic session, and this will be a main issue also to look at this. We've also working at our strategic session, those things will end, the SWOT, etc. From there, we will then start to develop our theories of change or causality arguments. We've currently got a certain series of causality arguments, but we will revise that. So we are now here in the beginning of August, where the red line is, and on the 15th of August, we will then be ready to have our first draft annual strategic plan available. These are the evaluations that we've done over the past 10 years. I just want to quickly stand still on the ones that we did in the past year. The first one of those is a diagnostic and design evaluation of services needs of various farmers categories in the Western Cape. And we've done that specifically for the purpose of our strategic plan. So we went to farmers, and now I'm talking for farmers from your mama in Khayelitsha that's got a food garden, right up to the De Tooy Group, who's actually an international company. And we asked them, for your business to be successful, what are the services that you require? And we are not the only player in this field. There are universities, there are cooperatives, there are agribusinesses, there are the ARC. What of those services do you require from us as the Department of Agriculture? And all businesses, all agricultural businesses need some form of services from us. Your mama in Khayelitsha would need some seed and hose pipes and wheelbarrows, etc. The De Tooy Group is more interested in the assurance that the department can provide, health and safety, what the vets can do, that type of thing. So there's a whole spectrum of that. Then the other one we did is our land reform farmers. We are supporting land reform projects in the Western Cape. And it doesn't matter who the ruling party is. We need to address the discrepancies in our society. How to do that? So we provide support to land reform beneficiaries. We've done a similar evaluation in 2013. We've done a similar one in 2018, and we've done one now again end of last year. And it has increased. The success of our farmers has increased from 62%, 72%, and now it is 83% of the farmers that we support are successful. And part of the reasons is that what we do is that report that's on the table don't end up on a shelf. We take each of those reports and we say, and we develop for them a response plan. And that response plan we then implement. And after 2 years, internal audit come and say, listen, there was a response plan. What did you do with those things that you indicated you want to, how many of those interventions did you actually implement? So part of what we've learned out of this exercise, we've then also implemented. We've also done one on the Witzenberg Pels, which is a private initiative, a separate initiative done by the private sector. And we said, okay, this is our model, land reform support, but there's also the Witzenberg Pels model. What lessons can we learn? And there's place for both of those exercises. I just want to briefly also take you through our model of causality. I think what is very important, and what the Minister said and the HOD also said, is the decisions we do on research and we do on facts. So there's a reason why we do certain things, and what we do, we also then design. So in this instance, we say, okay, we are the Department of Agriculture. What is farming? Farming is nothing but the combination between your natural resources like land and water, your skills and your capital, either financial or human capital. That is in the process of agricultural production. And again, it doesn't matter whether it is the mama in Khayelitsha or the De Tooy Group, it is about this production process. From that, there is you can either your products go directly to the market, or you add value to it through like wine or canned fruit. But in the end, everything goes to the market, either the export or the domestic market. And the important thing is that economic growth can only come from growth in the market. So how can we streamline this process so that we've got a better market focus where the economic growth can come from? And only from economic growth can we grow the capital base. What is also important here is household food security can only come from two sources. The one is own production for own consumption. Now, unfortunately, in the Western Cape, only about 96% of households do not produce their own food. Only 4% of households produce their own food. So 96% of producers get their food security from the market, either the formal market or the informal market or the social market, like soup kitchens and things like that. And then finally, jobs can only come from increased in either secondary or primary production. Based with this, there are a number of enablers that need to be in place. There's a certain number of imperatives like transformation, focus on women, youth and children, and then there are a number of risks. Now, the important part here is that in this model of us, we've identified 14 intervention points where we as a department can make a difference. And I'm going to just illustrate, these are the 14 interventions, and I'm only going to focus on one of those. One of the areas that is for us very important is black smallholder business growth. So during the development of this, we do develop what we call a problem tree. I know our sister department like fish bones, but we're in agriculture, they are supporting fisheries, you know, so we like the problem tree approach. So there's a core problem in this. The core problem is the limited business growth among black smallholders. What are the causes for this problem? And there are a number of causes that may be market forces, partnerships, etc. But it is very important to unpack these causes to understand the core problem. And then, of course, you've got the consequences to that. Now, we move to the theory of change. So what is the outcome in the end? It is for these farmers to graduate to commercial. That is the outcome that we want to achieve. For them to graduate, there need to be increased turnover, increased production. They must be more competitive, more sustainable, and we can unpack that right to the very beginning. And that is then our inputs, our activities, our outputs in the process. So that is why we provide grant finance, which is the CASP that was referred to earlier, facilitate partnerships and linkages, provide advice, structured training, record keeping, and all those sort of activities. And these are then, because we've got a fully structured process in place, we can then clearly indicate where is it easy to measure our activities, our inputs, and our outcomes. So this is then what you will find in our APP. The indicators for black smallholder business growth is in our current APP that we are implementing this year. So with that said, I am going to hand back to the HOD to talk about CASIDRA.
Chair, thank you very much. I will skip the CASIDRA part because there's a separate presentation. Just one or more slide from our side. You asked about legislation in the pipeline. Just to indicate that we're considering VAT legislation, given that this is an exclusive mandate for the province, and that's really the journey that we have embarked already a year ago. And but lawmaking, it's quite a long process, and that's really what we are currently involved with. Just the last slide from my side, Chair, in terms of what are the key messages we want to lend to the committee. One is that agriculture is a very complex biological system. Dr. Trotsky mentioned that it's a combination of water, land, capital, and skills. But this system also, it's a rebel. It doesn't comply with the financial years of government. And therefore, the reason why we've partnered with commodity organizations. If you look in the APP, which is in your pack for the current year, you'll see that we've reduced a number of targets for the department to remain within the envelope. But of course, what was important was the balancing act, because agriculture is a science. We've had to maintain the integrity of science, and also the fact that a lot of research that we do, we also do with universities, both locally and also international academicians. Climate change is a real threat for the sector, and Derek would always caution me to say we shouldn't say climate change is a threat, but rather our response to climate change. Because the climate has been changing for quite some time, and I think it's about time that South Africans start dealing with climate change in a different way. And ministers on record saying that perhaps our approach as South Africans is it's a bit worrying, because we talk climate change when people are already old and are in businesses. perhaps the approach should be that this must start at the ECD levels, where young children understand what climate change is and how does it impact their livelihood, their learning, their accommodation, the transport, and the like. But it also brings to us opportunities in terms of new farming systems that have been researched for adaptation, but also for us to then ensure that we comply with what the world is talking about in terms of the One Health approach, which is a UN's approach of bringing together the environment, the human health, but also the animals that we have to live with. Biosecurity, a very important issue. I think you have heard in the media the issue around the foot and mouth disease, which is very close to us. It's now in the Eastern Cape. It's not in the Western Cape. We agitated strongly for the declaration of the disease management area. I think 2 weeks ago, our minister engaged with Minister Steenhuisen, and it was so declared. But the issue is, this is the responsibility of everyone. It can't just be the responsibility of farmers. We believe that it's all of us. It's our business. We've got to ensure that we manage it, because failure to do so also affects our ability to export our products. One of the reasons why the Namibians and the Botswana are actually blocking our products is around phytosanitary concerns, which are things that we've got to deal with. I've referred earlier to partnering and collaborating with like-minded people. We are also a co-founder of an organization called MCAP, Mediterranean Climate Action Partnership, whereupon Mediterranean regions of the world have now got together to say, let us have a club, whose mandate is to then look as to what sort of research we can do together, because we'll be affected in the same manner. We've also signed an MOU with the University of Stellenbosch in terms of the climate studies, again, to look at leveraging additional resources to enable our ability to conduct research, because if we are going to adopt and adapt to climate change imperatives, we need science to guide us as to how to respond to that. Darrell spoke about the commodity approach and the 83% success rate. Blended finance, it's the work that we do because we cannot rely on government alone. The fiscals are really constrained. It becomes important that we work with the private sector. A model of the HOTFIN, for every R1 that government invested, HOTFIN invested R1.20. We think that's a very good model, and that is why we keep exploring these options going forward. The third last bullet is the issue around the cost of living crisis, as articulated by the World Economic Forum in terms of the global risks. That food security is a big issue. And I think recently in our country, the Human Science Research Council have published a report that also paints a picture that indeed there are quite a number of people that are still affected by food insecurity. But the point we want to underscore here, Chairperson, is that food security is not a production problem. In South Africa, all of us seem to think that food security will be solved by agricultural production. If that was the case, there wouldn't be food insecurity in South Africa, because we produce much more than we actually need. The real issue is that people need to find jobs to then gain access to the food to the food that is already available in the shelves. Food production does contribute to food security, but food production is not a panacea to food security. Case of Singapore, it's a case in point. There's not anything that is produced there, but in terms of the world records, they are #1 in terms of the food secure nation in the world because of the economy. Of course, my CFO spoke about the 8% of 1.018 billion rands goes to mass space. It's something that is unique to the department, but of course, service delivery for us is important, and service delivery is through our people, because you need an engineer, you need a vet, you need a researcher, you need an extension officer to then ensure that we interact with our citizens. So, Chairperson, that is our message in a nutshell. And again, thank you for giving us the opportunity, and apologies for taking much of your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, HOD, for your presentation. Honorable members, you have listened to the presentation. I'm just worried about time. I just want to really ask if honorable members want to maybe, engage the presentation, or should we proceed with Casidra, which would obviously lead us to maybe even concluding, taking questions after Casidra. What are the honorable members saying? Must we proceed?
Chair, Casidra is linked to what's happening with agriculture. So I suppose if we take the two together, and if we do have time for economic development data and tourism, we can go to that. But I'm happy to take them together, yeah.
Okay, so Minister, I think we can proceed with Casidra. There's no objection. Huh? Thank you.
No, I think there's no objection since Casidra is funded by us, they're part of us, they're with us, they are us.
Sorry, Chair, I'm just waiting for the presentation to be loaded. Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Honourable members, Casidra obviously is an acronym, for those who don't know, for Cape Agency for Sustainable Integrated Development in Rural Areas. So we can, I'll just show. Sorry, Chair, so I think I'll just move the slides on myself. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dirk. So Casidra is a provincial business enterprise of the Western Cape government and is listed as a Schedule 3D public entity in terms of the Public Finance Management Act. The company has a board of directors as an accounting authority, and our current chairperson is Mr. Christo van der Rede. He's then supported by 7 other independent non-executive directors. Casidra resides under the Western Cape Department of Agriculture, as you all know, and its minister currently, Mr. Meyer, is a designated executive authority. The relationship between Casidra and the department is governed by a shareholders' compact agreement that is signed annually between Casidra and the department then provides transfer funding to Casidra in terms of the Public Finance Management Act. So we have a very lean structure. We've got 90 staff members stationed at 4 locations across the province. Our head office is in Paarl, and then where there's roughly about, I would say, about 60 individuals, and our regional office is in George. And then we have the two government-owned farms that was alluded to by the department earlier, Amalienstein and Waikral, where we have roughly about 30 employees that are employed. Our vision is to be a catalyst towards growth, a growth towards self-sustainable communities, and we want to achieve this vision by maximizing agricultural and economic development opportunities in rural communities through the delivery of excellent project management services. Our mandate stems from a cabinet resolution that was taken in 2007, and we therefore always strive to unlock agriculture and facilitate economic development, because these two goes hand in hand within a rural and land reform context. So our core business is to render project management and procurement-related services mainly to government departments, municipalities and private institutions, and our main client obviously is the Western Cape Department of Agriculture. Then we also render financial record-keeping services. Last year we rendered roughly these services to roughly 40 small farmers, where we assist them with accounting and bookkeeping services. And then we also have a banking license allowing us to facilitate small loans However, that is something that we would need to sort of try to explore more and put more effort in developing. Our business is operated through 4 programs, of which our program 1 provides the supporting services for the company through the provision of financial management, human capital solutions, and then public relations and communications, amongst others. Our program 2 and 3 are reserved for provision of support to our main client, which is the Department of Agriculture. The support provided to the 2 farms, Amalingstein and Vaikraal, as well as the delivery of comprehensive agricultural support program, the COST program that you might know, happens under program 2. And then through our program 3, we assist the department in delivering the food security program, as well as provide support to the small farmers through our unit for technical assistance, the Land Reform Advisory Desk, or LREAD, as well as through our FRK, or Financial Record Keeping program that I just alluded to earlier. Our program 4, we used to provide services to other clients, and that, in essence, we used to seek for new business opportunities that are aligned to our mandate. Our clients, they include Cape Nature, Garden Route District Municipality, Mossel Bay Municipality. We also do some work for Breede Gouritz Catchment Agency. So, with that, we try to sort of also assist us in generating additional income to support the company's objectives. We have 4 strategic priorities, and these are key areas of focus that shape our business strategy and drive decision-making of the company. These priorities provide a roadmap for Casidra to outline the most important objectives that need to be accomplished for us to achieve our vision. They are sustainable funding. Now, here we need to secure sustainable funding and additional funding from diverse sources to ensure the long-term sustainability of the business and to ensure that we expand our reach. The second one would be world-class service delivery. We need to ensure that we deliver world-class project management services to all our stakeholders. Number 3 would be a winning culture. We want to foster a winning team culture amongst our employees, as we understand that all we do and want to achieve is underpinned by the people of the organization. And then number 4 is the stakeholder engagements. That is, we need to engage more widely with existing and potential stakeholders, as partnerships are crucial if you want to make a real and lasting difference in the life of the people of the province. So maybe just to quickly delve into the first strategic priority. In 23-24 financial year, Casidra received roughly about 30.7 million from the Department of Agriculture as core funding. This is made up of about 72% of our total revenue last year. The rest of our revenue we generated mainly through interest earned, and then also through the rendering of fee-based project management services to other clients. Then over the next 5 years, we will seek to increase this external project income substantially to a point where we believe it could potentially match the core funding allocation. This will then assist us in expanding our reach and do more in rural communities. It will give us a little bit more flexibility. In terms of, and to achieve this, we will be steadily building on a pipeline of projects that we are currently working on, and we believe that this will assist us in achieving financial sustainability. But we also understand that some of these projects will not bear fruit tomorrow. It might need some patience and a whole lot of hard work to ensure that we convert these pipeline of projects into real revenue-generating opportunities. The funds we received in 24-25 are allocated per program, as highlighted in this slide. I think it's a bit small, but bulk of the cost in all these programs would be for salaries. We've got a budget of roughly 52 million this year. Of this, total cost of employment is roughly 80%. because we are basically in the services industry, so we basically rendering a service. So people are actually our assets. You'll note that we would roughly use 20 million, if you look at programs 2 and 3, to implement on average roughly about 200 million rands worth of projects. This would mainly be to implement CASP and food security, and also the disaster response projects for the department. And then also we've allowed a budget for 5.9 million for the 2 farms, and therein you might also deduct that there is not enough money to run farms, but at this stage we are doing the best we can with the funds that's allocated for those farms, and we're managing it I think best possible. And there we have a good relationship with the department, working hand in hand with the regional managers and responsible people from the department side for the farms, to ensure that we hand over these farms in a good state to the beneficiaries when the time is ready. In terms of world-class service delivery, we've managed to assist the implementation of roughly 166 community food security projects in the past financial year. And then if we look at the household food security projects that was initiated last year and completed, it's more than 3,000 we've assisted. Then there were community and household projects that were started in the previous financial years, but we completed it last year. That is more than, there's close to 7,000. So all in all, we've supported close to 10,000 community and food security projects last year alone. And I think that is a testament of the department's, I think, will to want to ensure that people of the province are actually food secure, and that they receive the proper nutrition. We've trained we've assisted in the training of more than 4,000 small farmers. And as I've mentioned earlier, we've supported about 40 small farmers in terms of the financial record keeping program, where we have accountants and bookkeeping services in-house at Casidra that is assisting these farmers. We've assisted a disaster support program obviously from the department to the tune of 6.4 million, and I suspect this number will increase this year, obviously due to the disasters that has just taken place. And we've also delivered about 2.5 million rands worth of water tanks. That is mainly for the Breede and Gouritz Catchment Management Agency. All in all, we've delivered roughly about 155 million rands worth of projects in the past financial year. So I think all in all, it was a good year. In terms of winning culture, I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but I think we spend a lot of time at Casidra in trying to ensure that we raise staff morale and create a workplace that is conducive for people to flourish. So we have a number of wellness initiatives every year to ensure that staff are fully engaged and generally happy to be at work. Our biannual employee survey that we send out to our staff, which is anonymous, and which in all current instances that we've measured of the past 3 instances had more than 60% participation rate, highlights that there's a marked improvement in terms of how staff perceive the culture of the organization. So we believe that if the staff is happy, then we will be able to achieve more. We will obviously continue to monitor this over the next few years, and we're doing it, as I say, anonymously, so that people can feel comfortable to give us their inputs. Over the past year and a half, Casidra has signed MOUs with a number of organizations. I'm also happy to mention that we've signed an MOU with Atlantis Special Economic Zone last year. The idea is to leverage partnerships and to increase the reach and impact of projects and programs.
My apologies, CEO.
Yeah.
Can you speak closer to the mic and louder, because we're missing your content here.
Sorry, Chairperson.
Thanks.
So the idea is to leverage partnerships and to increase the reach of and impact of projects and programs than would have been the case if it was implemented by a single organization. We believe that partnerships are key to ensure a greater impact in rural areas within the Western Cape. Then, Chair, this slide is just to say that we continuously monitor our risks and that we are always seeking to mitigate against these risks and even see what opportunities are there that accompany some of these risks. Our top risk for the past while is the risk of a failure to be financially sustainable. Other risks include employees operating in dangerous areas, cyber security risks, and third-party liability, amongst others. Then finally, Chair, we will prioritize the delivery of programs and projects for the Western Cape Department of Agriculture. We are well positioned to assist other Western Cape provincial departments, municipalities, and agencies to deliver on the mandates. We have streamlined procurement and supply chain management, and our HR onboarding processes are, I think, very swift. And obviously, we have 35 years of unqualified audits that highlights our quest for good governance. Now, some people might say that you are supposed to have a clean audit, but I can also say that the Springboks are supposed to win, and they do win, and then we all are happy. But if we have a clean audit, then nobody says anything. They just say, no, you're supposed to do it. We have another clean audit this year, and we are very proud of it, and we will continue to make sure that clean governance is our top priority. We are providing value for money to the Western Cape government. We have data that could back that over the past 18 years, we have delivered projects for the Western Cape government at a fee of approximately 12%, a fee that would be very difficult to be matched even by the private sector. So with that, Chair, I want to conclude and say thank you. Back to the HOD. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Honorable members, I think maybe we can break for 5 minutes, a tea break, and maybe some people want to also, just stretch their legs a little bit. And then when we come back, we will come back at 10, let's make it 10.
Chairperson, could we possibly increase the 5 minutes to 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
It was quite a traffic situation this morning to get here to the legislature.
We can come back at 10:40 if that is in order. Honorable members, are you good? All right. Thank you. We have got also guests here at the top, as you can see. Honorable members, the guests are here to come and watch you doing your work. They are Valhalla High School. I just want to say you are welcome. You are welcome to listen, but you may not participate in the debate. We are going to take a 10 minutes break that we have got tea and coffees down at the members' lounge. You are welcome to join the members and join the department and engage them. And then we'll be coming back at 10:40. I see Honorable Brinkhuis want to...
Thank you very much, Chair. We also have some guests from the Matsikama municipality in Vredendal. If you could possibly maybe give them also a moment to recognize them. The Matsikama municipality, Vredendal. They have about 4 or 5 guests from that municipality to represent also. Thank you, Chair.
On behalf of the committee, I just want to say you are welcome, Matsikama municipality. Thank you for joining us. The same message as I have indicated to the learners upstairs. You are welcome to follow the proceedings. It is not a public meeting. It is a meeting between the committee and the members of the parliament. So we will be deliberating on the presentation that has been given. So we'll be taking a break for 10 minutes. Thank you. get seated, and we over our 10 minutes. Mr. Spokesperson. Honorable members, you have received the presentations from CASIDRA and the Department of Agriculture. I would now open the floor for questions and obviously any areas that you might be seeking clarity. I think the order of the question will be that we'll take first three, and then once the first three has completed, we'll allow the department to respond, and then we'll go for the second round and then take it from there. Thank you. Honorable Bryant.
Thanks very much, Chair. I don't know, is the Minister going to be joining us, or is he not? I just want to know whether I should wait.
What time will he be back? We can see the stuff is there. Do you know? Any indication? Okay, thank you.
All right, can I go? All right. Okay, thanks very much for the presentations, and it was, I think, very enlightening for us. It's our first meeting to find out more about what's being undertaken by the department and also by CEDISA. If I got that right. CASIDRA. CASIDRA. Just a couple of questions. The first one is, I think it was Mr. Sebupetsa, did I say that correctly? Yeah. In terms of the filling of your posts, and it's something which came out quite strongly during my first meeting of Environment, Development Planning and local government, where, you know, this point about effectively fair share of budget and the provision of budget to fill posts is a huge issue. It is quite scary to hear that stat that you mentioned around the number of posts that are filled compared to your kind of ideal number. I just want to find out, are those, just some in my head was around about 700 to 800 posts. Are those currently vacant posts, or are those ideally posts that you would like to have to kind of function optimally? And I really think, Chairperson, this is something that we're going to have to work on assisting the department with to ensure that we argue as strongly as possible to get the budget provided, not only for here, but elsewhere as well, to provide those jobs that are required. So I just want to find out that. Then in terms of the point that was raised by the next speaker, is it Mr. Jacobs? Yes. In terms of attracting the technical skills, engineers and your technicians, and this being impacted by OSD requirements. So that's performance-related salaries effectively, is that correct? So in terms of that, is the issue that the department isn't able to match the expected costs? Okay, all right, that's fine. Then veterinary services, I just wanted to find out what the working relationship with the SPCA is. I know they are also quite understaffed as an entity, but you know, what the current working relationship is between the department and the SPCA. I'm glad to hear the points that were raised around climate change and the focus on adaptation. It really is, you know, one of the ways that we can make a difference when it comes to climate change. I think there's very little that we can do in terms of mitigation here in the Western Cape to change the way things are going from a climate perspective, but we can certainly do all we can to adapt, and I think that's really, really important and good to hear. The points raised by Ms. Govender in terms of the reduced budget is also noted, and it's the same concern that was raised earlier. You mentioned that 81 of the 85 performance targets were met. The ones that weren't met, what were those, and what were the reasons? And then why is the department not part of the overarching security contract? I'm just intrigued to know why it doesn't form part of that. Yes, the Young Professional Persons Program. Do you measure the sort of take-up or conversion rate from the people who are sent through to assist on those farms and facilities coming through? And is that a positive sort of conversion rate? Can you just give us a bit more information on that? Sorry, just another quick one. Oh yeah, it was mentioned in terms of support for farmers that you have quite a high success rate. It was over 70%. How is that success measured? So what is it effectively the farm sort of becoming a going concern, or how do you get to the point of that measurement? And then just very quickly, last couple, in terms of veterinary legislation, can you just expand a little bit on what is envisaged in terms of the veterinary legislation that's being worked on, and when it's anticipated to come to the committee? And then to Casidra, very interesting projects that you're undertaking. I just want to find out two things. The first one, at what point do you, as Casidra, decide that the farming initiatives that you're supporting no longer require resources to be invested in them? Obviously, one has to, walk that line between support and development and sort of, government largesse going into a business once it's established. And I just want to know at what point you make that call. And then just lastly, you mentioned community food security projects. What is a community food security project? Is that a food garden, or what? Can you just define a little bit more what a community food security project is? Thanks very much, Chair.
Honourable Stoffel.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Put your mic on.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, let me acknowledge the presentation from the MEC side and his team. My first question or clarity seeking question is around 22,000 jobs, 195, if I'm correct, that is being created and being destroyed. I want to know from the MEC, as much as that jobs was there and it's been destroyed, wat 'n meganisme julle in plek om daai werke terug te kry? Het julle 'n plan vir dit om dit terug te kry? En in tweedens, in watter areas was die, when you talk about creating the jobs, watter tipe werke was dit? Waar was dit geconcentreerd op? Kan julle miskien vir ons meer uitbrei daaroor? And then the second one is that in terms of the providing support services, I think the emphasis was more on land users. Now, I've got a bit of a concern if we're being specific to say land users, because we all know who's the land users. And then if you are saying land users, what about those who don't have land? And then the other one is that support and development. When you talk about support and development, what categories are you talking about? That's the first one.
And then the second one, in terms of development, till how far do you, tot waar strek julle development? When you talk about development, strek het tot by die armste mens wat nie 'n voorreg het om by die goed uit te kom nie. En dan transfer of skills and development. I have noted that on the smaller areas there is cultural offices. But currently we don't know what is the program of those agricultural offices. We don't know, because those agricultural offices doesn't assist the community when it comes to support and development, when it comes to transfer skills in development. We don't see that programs from them. So this committee, what are they saying? To what extent is that transfer and skills development when it comes to the function of that offices at a local level, at these smaller areas? And then to Casidra, there's 2 state farms, if I hear you correctly. Office 1 of that farms is in my area. And that is Amalienstein. A lot went wrong on that farm. And I think, Comrade Chairperson, Casidra, they have to come with a proper presentation specific about these state farms. Who is the actual beneficiaries of that farms currently as we speak? So we need a proper report from that state farms, specifically Amalienstein. And then also food gardens. Are we just saying here today, people must start to do food gardens just for the sake of food gardens? Are we giving them really the necessary and proper skills and assistance, guidance? Even this mama of Kayelicha that we are talking about, is she really equipped to do these food gardens? Or must she just plant spinach in this all? But she will never know when that spinach got type van a ziekte op dat, a borslijstje of iets. She won't know, because she's not trained for that. Are we just doing it for the sake of doing? So I think the team should have more detailed when it comes to when we talk about specifically about the mamas and the tatas who starting these food gardens. How are we going to? Or like for instance, in the rural areas, you will find she goes there to the office, there's not even seat for her. But we are talking about food gardens. Then you will find that we encourage them, but there was never even an awareness. There's no awareness from these offices to make people aware what is the function of this office within our communities. We just, so I think the committee should even have more detailed when it comes to that explanation to us, to say what is the actual function of those offices at these local areas where we are staying.
Honorable
And then-
Stoffel, can you wrap?
Yes, I'm wrapping up. And then also, what is this? This, we've got, they talk about finance, ma'am. You talk about the finance issue, and you are quite proud of the clean audit of your financial department, of your office. Yes, I can applaud you for that. But I will never applaud when the functions that's supposed to go to the people at a ground level still is a challenge in terms of supporting, training, skills, providing those people. I will never applaud your achievement in your office. Therefore, I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Stoffels. Can I just remind members that we have invited the department to provide us with an overview of what they do. We will have enough opportunity to engage on each and every program or challenges that the department is faced with. We have got it listed here, Amalienstein and Weigraus farms, as two of the provincial department's farms that we will need to definitely go and zoom into them, as a legacy report has indicated that we need to engage the department around the two farms. So I just want to remind members that we still have got 5 years, and we will engage thoroughly on a number of issues. But I just want to say that let's confine our engagement with the department on what they have presented, and obviously ask clarity-seeking questions. Honorable Constable.
Thank you, Chairperson. You covered me, because I would have liked MEC to request.
Can you get closer to your mic, please? Thank you.
I would like to request or ask you to whether we can submit questions, because we really, or I really have received the presentations very late yesterday, and I was still on the road. But nevertheless, MEC and Chairperson, thanks for the opportunity. First of all, MEC, you request us to rally behind you with regards to jobs. And Chair, I think, let me, as a member of this committee, commit myself to do that. Because jobs and economic development is very much important for us as a people on the ground. MEC will remember I am coming from a very small town, a very small region, vast in land, but small in population. And for me, it is important to speak for them, because for a long time there were people in this parliament from the city of Beaufort West, but they've never mentioned that name. But it's important that that name must rise above all odds. And my commitment, MEC, is specifically for that, that whatever we do as a department, that it must be beyond the borders of just the city of Cape Town, beyond the borders of just George. I hear, Doctor, you spoke about your regional offices, and there's only one office in George. Why in the Central Crew do you not have an office? We need the services across all regions. And MEC, the approach of our department needs to be a regional approach. So whatever we do, we need to touch on every region, in every region. I'm happy that you speak about the Karoo lamb, because this is who we are. I'm happy that you talk about the Karoo National Park, because this is who we are. We are a people that we can also develop. We just need the support of this parliament. And for me, my 5 years as committed member of this committee, I would love for us to make sure that we also commit ourselves that development, economic development, and the introduction of jobs needs to go to all the regions of this province. And then, MEC, I will guarantee you, I will rally behind you for the 5 years. Chairperson, lastly, I would like us to engage more on Casidra and the work that Casidra is doing in the Western Cape, because the money they receive from the department, from the Western Cape, I would like to see that all of us, all regions, all towns tap into that. Just the last point, the skills development, MEC, that we are talking about, that skills development, the question I would like to ask is, what is our relations with the TVET colleges in the regions? Because I know in the Central Karoo, in Beaufort West, we do have South Cape College. Are there a relationship between the college in Worcester and the TVET colleges? Or can we establish such a relationship so that the children of the Central Karoo and Beaufort West don't have to drive all the way to Cape Town for skills development programs or even to become professionals? Thank you very much.
Thank you, honorable members. Minister, I give over to you.
Right. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the members of the committee. The HOD will extensively reply to some of the questions and the comments that were made, because some were comments and not necessarily questions. But I think all of us know, and we have seen it last year, climate change is real. We experience it right now. Last year, we had 4 floods. I'm the Minister of Agriculture, but I spend more time on floods and disasters than I spend time with farmers. So climate change is fundamentally changing the whole ecosystem of agriculture. But generally, we've seen what happened now in this weekend in Malmesbury, also in the context of Citrusdal and other places. So climate change is fundamentally something that needs this government attention big time. Not incrementally, not marginally, not now and then, but systemically, actively, continuously. That's why I went to the Premier, and I said, Premier, look at our cabinet agenda. The word climate change never appeared on our cabinet agenda. And I've asked him to put a permanent item on the cabinet agenda called climate change. So the 8th of this March this year, I've also asked for an interministerial committee on climate change. That committee exists. We have also made a climate change declaration, because if you want now to be involved in the just energy transition and the global climate change situation, you need to have your ducks in a row. We're an export region. Climate change affects our exports in terms of the carbon tax. And so we now have an interministerial committee on climate change. We have a permanent item on climate change on the cabinet agenda. And I went to California, and we signed an agreement between the government of California and this government of the Western Cape on climate change. But I said to the colleagues, we don't want just generic climate change. I want climate change in Mediterranean regions. The Western Cape is a Mediterranean region. California is a Mediterranean region. And so we have signed firstly an agreement. She was in Sacramento. I was here. We did a virtual signature. Later, I went to visit the Minister of Agriculture in California, and we made a commitment. I said to her, I want us to establish a Mediterranean agricultural climate change region. Well, I'm happy that at COP28 that has happened. I sent Dr. Ilse Trautmann to Dubai, the 2nd of December last year, and we then formed a Mediterranean Climate Action Program, the MCAP that you've seen, and we are now part of a global Mediterranean action plan, because we want to take this matter very seriously, and there's a whole range of funding and support and technical research that we're currently doing. But also, as you see in the presentation, we've signed an agreement with the University of Stellenbosch, the School of Climate Studies, and we are working very much closely on this. Yesterday, I visited the port of Cape Town. You know, the wind, the containers, and the CSIR is also busy with the study there, but I also asked them to make contact with Dr. Ilse Trautmann in terms of our work and our research on climate change and weather patterns for the containers and the cranes at the harbor. I'm so happy. This morning, I got the feedback. Dr. Trautmann has already, I was there yesterday, she already made contact with Transnet and the Port Authority of Cape Town. So climate change is something real, and I think it's not for agriculture. I want every single department in this government to have an orientation. But you cannot be, what is the image of a child on climate change. The image of a child, the house is underwater, the mother grabs the children and the children grab the mother here by a rock, and that's the image of the child. The child just wants to run, obviously it's natural, but I think it's too late. We need at the creche level, orientate children about fires, water, rain, climate change. It is too late to be at high school now to hear about climate change. We have learners here from Valhalla High School. It is too late for them now to hear what is the impact of climate change. Mediterranean regions have floods, droughts, and all other stuff. I think it is important that climate change must be taught at ECD level and mainstream. Honourable Member then asked about the issue of the veterinary legislation. If you look at Schedule 5 of the Constitution, which the HOD did refer to, he spoke about exclusive provincial legislative competence. And Schedule 5 is very clear. The HOD referred to the first one, abattoirs. The last one on that list is veterinary services. Now, I have seen every year, I sit with the HOD and I say, what is the single focus that we want to have this year? And he said, Minister, biosecurity. And I've decided that we're going to draft legislation in line with the Constitution, which empowers me to bring before the committee legislation. So this is a commitment I want to give to this committee, that I will initiate legislation as a member of the executive to formulate our own legislation for veterinary services, because what I see happening in South Africa is the issue of biosecurity. The former minister appointed a committee, and the committee had to look into the whole architecture of biosecurity. The report says the biosecurity implementation infrastructure in South Africa has collapsed. Now, if that is the outcome of the report, I can't sit here and do nothing, and the Act empowers me to do something. So I now inform the committee chair that I will bring to this committee a bill dealing with veterinary services. But before I do so, I have to alert the cabinet. I must now first get in principle approval from the cabinet that I will bring legislation, and that process I will follow, and I will keep you informed. Then about Honourable Member Stoffels, I think the department will answer about the jobs and the jobs numbers. But there is something about we are trying to grow our economy through exports, and we've done an economic modeling that says if I grow exports in agriculture by 5%, we generate 22,900 new jobs. So that's the economic modeling of a 5% increase. That's why I am driving relentlessly market access, and I want to thank also the work that DDAD is doing in Westgrow. Our job is to promote exports so that we can create more jobs. Export-led growth, we call it. The department will answer you rightly about the offices. In that booklet that we gave you, the A to Z services, those services are available also at all the offices, not directly, then indirectly. Maybe in one office, all that services are not there, but access to the various sub-program managers are there. Ms. Jackie Pandaram is our Chief Director, Rural Development. So any rural area, you can contact her, access her services, and she would be very happy to do so. The colleagues will answer about the two Casidra state farms, but I think what I heard here is people want a detailed presentation about Casidra. Perhaps, Chair, maybe the committee can engage them just on Casidra. So we're happy to do that. Food gardens, the department will answer. But I want to say that we have the only province that has extensive advisory, extension and advisory services. And the colleagues can speak to that. Mr. Constable, yes. This is why two people in the Karoo, in the last 2 financial years, my wife was sitting there during my budget speech. The 2 people that I invited to sit next to my wife were from the Karoo. I deliberately and intentionally put the focus on the Karoo because die Karoo het te lank in die agterspeen gedryf. And so, in honoring the people of the Karoo, my father is from the Karoo, And I will continue to support people from the Karoo because I think we used a wrong economic model in the past, and I think we need to use a correct model with the people, but not for the people, with the people. Then, lastly, we are very proud, and Dr. Trotsky was involved for over 20 years with Karoo lamb. He was involved 20 years with rooibos teer. It's a long journey. It's research over time. Now rooibos teer is classified as a product of geographical origin in Europe, and so we can increase the demand and create better jobs. Karoo lamb is now also on the same journey, not yet fully in terms of international product of geographical origin, but at least the work has been done, and I'm quite happy our colleagues can speak. The best that we can do for the Karoo is to unpack the marrow. Every year, the Minister of Finance stands in this house and table the marrow, the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook, and Honourable Member Nkotla and I read that document extensively. That document gives us the economic intelligence of the Karoo, and I think we need to unpack that and work with that. I'm so happy that Westgrow, the DDET, economic development, Nizam, skills development people are also working in that particular area. You also ask about skills and those things, but I think economic development, part of that work, they can also extensively deal with that. But some, and I want to, Honourable Member Stoffels, I want to propose through the chair that if you are interested in some of the site visits, because we can't talk about agriculture in Parliament. We must see it, visit the project, and if you want us to arrange some site visits to certain projects, we are happy to do so through the chair and the secretariat, and I think certainly those things can be done. Chair, with your permission, I now hand over to my HOD. Perhaps I've spoken too much, but I think it's valuable information that Honourable Member Stoffels dearly appreciate.
Minister, I think you've spoken too much. Can you confine yourself, HOD, to technical skills, to post to the 85% that they have spoken, but it's 95%, Honourable Stoffels. We're not comrade members, we're honourables. And the young people question. Thank you.
Chair, thank you very much. Yes, I will limit myself to the questions as asked. Member Bryant, we would really be happy to get the committee support to get to 1,600 people at the department, but I can tell you I'm not a pessimist. I'm a pragmatic scientist. It will be very difficult for us to get double the budget in the current economic environment. So the 1,600 is really the capacity that we need. It's not the funded positions. In terms of the funded positions, our vacancy rate is sitting at 2.2%. So maybe 10 years from now, we do another study, maybe that 1,600 need to be 2,000 staff members. We don't know, but the science told us at the time that we needed 1,600. We only have about 900 people. Vacancy rate of 2.2%. Mr. Jacobs will respond to the OSD staff, the technical engineering kind of work there. Dr. Msiza will talk to the relations with the SPCA. Some great work there is happening. In terms of the 81 versus 85 indicators, it's the matter that we will be coming to discuss with the committee when we present our annual report. But there are indeed great reasons why some of this could not be achieved. Chief among those is the fact that we just rehabilitated our laboratory services. At Stellenbosch, 2 of those indicators had not been met because we're in the process of refurbishing the lab. With respect to why we're not part of the security contract, transversal one, my CFO will respond to that. Graduate employment, Mr. Paul Rockman will respond to that. The issue around what sort of the variables we look at to determine success of farmers in the land reform, Dr. Trotsky will be happy to deal with that. Honorable Stoffel, with respect to the 22,900 jobs, Dr. Trotsky will talk to that. You spoke about people who don't have land. Unfortunately, I've got no mandate to do any land reform. Actually, we sought legal counsel, I think about 10 years ago. We've got no such authority as a province. We can only support those who have land. And that is why we are also in support of private sector-driven land reform processes, which avail land opportunities for people. And once people are landed, it becomes my responsibility, together with this team, to then support them. The category of farmers, we support all farmers in the province. From the mama in Kailicha, that subsistence farmer, the smallholder farmers, the commercial farmers. And I think as members get to know the department and what we do, you'll get to appreciate the great work that we are doing with these farmers across the province. And I think the value of what we do is that we subject everything to an external evaluation, because we don't want to drink our own Kool-Aid and say we're doing so well. It's always important to let people from the outside come in and check what you are doing. There's already a study on the food garden and how they perform. Chairperson will be at your disposal to come and share that report with you as and when is necessary. But that report was actually also delivered last year, which also demonstrated that these investments were contributing to food security and income security for some of these households. And also training is a prerequisite. We don't supply any input to anybody that we have not trained. If you don't take part in the training, you actually exclude yourself, because we believe skills are very important. At the colleges we sit here, I've got over 500 students that I'm training at the college, and in a year, through our agricultural skills development, over 4,000 people are trained across the board. And we've got over 45 offices across the province and member constable. We've got an office in Beaufort West, that's our headquarters in terms of that district. We also have an office Prince Albert and also Linesbeck. So those offices are there really to ensure that we are very close to the citizens. But also it will be important for us to indicate that in February this year, we had our Career Expo in Beaufort West. And it was an intentional approach on our part to say we need to target those young people from grade 9, 10, 11 before they make career choices, so that they could possibly consider agriculture as a career of choice. But of course, the issue around mathematics is a big issue, because agriculture is a science, and therefore maths literacy doesn't have it. But still, we target those young people and see the extent to which they could then be assisted. I think those are the questions. I would then ask that we allow Dr. Msiza to respond to the SPCA. Paul Rockman follows, the CFO comes third, and Darrell number 4, and the CFO number 5, and then I hand over to Casidra. Thanks, Chair.
Dr. Msiza, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. SPCA, I think I will start from the base in the sense that SPCA is a quasi-creator of statutes, in a sense that it's the up to now is the only welfare organization that has been robbed with some statutes, in a sense of Animal Protection Act and Performing Animal Protection Acts. And those acts are basically historical, in a sense that, I mean, Protection Animal Act was basically came into force in 1962, with PAPA even earlier in 1935. But subsequent to that one, PAPA has been given to, PAPA is a Performing Animal Protection Act, have been given to the state vets, where now we are basically doing, together with the SPCA, quite a lot of inspections or checking on the working conditions of animals. I tend to take it, it's more or less almost, if you picture it, in equivalent of us performing a role of a union for those performing animals to ensure that their working conditions are up to date. But above that thing, I mean, SPCA is one of the welfare organizations that operates in our shores. So in that matter, to ensure that we don't advantage or unfairly treat one organization over another. There is a Cape Animal Welfare Forum that is an umbrella organization whereby we engage all the welfare organizations. And currently, I think the last count we had with something like more than 200 animal welfare NGOs, although SPCA it forms one of the major one. And the second thing with SPCA is it also have quite a number of branch within the whole province. But our relationship is basically cordial with them. Up to at the moment, we have had an allocation from the National Department of around 18 communities, compulsory community veterinarians, of which most of them we have an arrangement, those ones who are not doing office work or like assisting us with our statutory duties, we allocate our time half towards either place them with SPCA or other similar organizations like Mzananda, Anti-Cruelty League and so forth, whereby they assist with rendering clinical services. So that in a sense, it helps in a very much so to the SPCA in a sense that those compulsory community service vets are paid by the national, then they tend to get the clinical vets at almost a fully subsidized price. And we also collaborate with SPCA and other welfare organizations when we do our spay campaigns to control the uncontrolled breeding of animals. And at the same time, most of the time when we do those ones, SPCA assists us in also dosing susceptible animals with rabies, and to ensure that we improve our coverage. And for us, from our side, we tend to supply SPCA and other willing participating welfare organizations with rabies vaccines and syringes where and when is necessary. And I think basically that's our relationship. And for many years before before life, I also served an SPCA. At some stage, I was for quite a few many years a deputy chair of the board of the SPCA. So that relationship has been quite cordial. So in short, to cut a long story, we have a very cordial relationship. Thank you, Chair. I hope it covers all your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Msisa. Next.
Chairperson, thank you. Thank you very much. You asked about the conversion rate of our internships to full employment, keeping in mind these are graduates and that the internship program is a 24-month program. And year on year, 20 to 25 graduates exit the program in that 24-month period to take up permanent employment, or otherwise contract or temporary employment. Already for this cohort, 15 interns took up employment. And so for them, we say, yep, you're right. That's exactly what we want. The second statistic is a little bit more difficult to track, and that is once they've exited the full 24-month program. But from the information that we could gather, and we are trying to monitor that, 60 to 70% of our interns that have left the program then eventually take up positions in the sector. So we're quite satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rockman. Next.
Thank you very much, Chair. The issue of OSD and Member Bryant, I do have that right, remember? The reality is salaries in terms of especially professionals and technical staff is very regulated with very little space for flexibility. So it's directed by occupational specific dispensation. And we do struggle. We really battle to procure or secure professionals. We've gone out, for example, in terms of engineering water specialists. We've probably advertised about twice or thrice now with almost zero interest from outside of the department. And we only have one professional engineer. In fact, we've got two professional engineers who are specializing in water. The one will be retiring within the next 12 to 18 months, and all our attempts to secure anybody else has been unsuccessful to date. So that is, I think there was interest from one person out of the last 3 recruitment drives, and that person ultimately turned down the offer exactly because of salary. So that is the reality that we do face with. If I can also just pick up the question around TVET colleges in Elsenburg. So Elsenburg Agricultural Training Institute is a higher education institute. The relationship with TVET colleges is largely driven through the College Seater Forum, which is headed by our sister department, DDAT. The department is part of that, or the college is part of that, and so there's a very strong collaborative relationship there. But we don't have a formal partnership between Elsenburg Training Institute and the relevant TVET college. Just also want to say in terms of service offering in Beaufort West, we cover a full spectrum of services there. And if I can just touch on one last point in terms of the indicators that's used for land reform success. I know Dr. Trotsky will answer it, but it covers 39 indicators covering environmental dimension, socioeconomic dimension, and economic viability. And so it is a comprehensive assessment that is done to arrive at a determination of 83% success in respect of land reform. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Next.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I think DDG Jacobs answered the first question to a large extent. I just want to add to that on the environmental dimension of that. Some of that 39 questions, for instance, focus on the condition of soil and soil erosion. The socioeconomic focus on the nutrition status of the household. On the economic viability dimension, questions are asked, does reinvestment take place in the farm? You know, is there sufficient funds for those? So that is the one. The other one was on the 22,000 jobs. What we did there is we use a social accounting matrix. A social accounting matrix is basically a map of the economy. In other words, you produce an apple. What everything goes into the production of that apple? There must be a person work on that farm. That person must have clothing. The clothing is manufactured by somebody else, etc. So all these relationships are in a social accounting matrix. And then we fitted over this a computable general equilibrium model, which allows us to say, okay, if the exports of apples increase by 5%, how would all this go through the economy to indicate then where the jobs are created in the economy? So it is technical, very complex, but we are quite convinced that it's international best practice, and the results that come out of this we can defend from any platform. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the security contract, so the transversal contract only provides for physical security guarding services, which does not really suit our need, because we, based on our asset base, do require a bit more, like perimeter, control, also specific solutions around our physical assets that's movable, including our biological assets, of course. Things like tagging systems where we can actually track people jumping fences and so on. So there's a bit more required by agriculture, and with the permission then of Treasury, we've then not followed or not contracted with that transversal contract.
Thank you, Minister, and your department. I'm going to take another set of questions. Professor Mbombo, Honorable.
Thank you. I think for me it will be unfair to ask questions from the department because some of what they've presented now, has been part of the budget here from April, I was part of it. So therefore I cannot be now when I'm this side and then I try to make myself cleverish. However, for me, it's also about, I think the minister did mention that it's about a learning curve because it's also new, so it's learning. So for me, it's not about asking the question, it's about also learning so that we could be able to utilize the information further. But The interest for me is about, I've noted the Premier Minister's priorities, which is for me, I will be interested in further engagements, not now, in regard to the milestones in terms of the outputs, in regard to, I always follow money in terms of the resources that are placed, because it's no use just to have something and then you don't put resources in place. And then also integration with the others. Just making an example, in health, we talk about One Health, health of the animals, health of the plants. How does that impact? Like the issue of the nutrition, which the HOD did explain in regard to you might be a biggest producer of food, food security and all of those, but Oxalayo is about the job, so that I'll be interested in. But most specifically, the reason I'm putting now, so that there are no surprises during the MTech, because that's the only time that we could be able to review the budgets. I understand these budgets from the 1st of April, so there might not be much changes, but for the MTech, how to be able to ensure that you follow that part of those. And then lastly, and also the strat plan, which there was being shared in terms of what would be the, because we need to reflect those priorities, especially not in the 5-year, but especially in the year 1 of the annual strat plan. And then also in the APP, how to make sure that also it gets within filtered throughout the department. And then lastly, I saw within the MTEF in regard to the decrease, and also you mentioned the issue of the budgets, but I'll be more interested, what will be the department, especially the minister, the evidence in terms of having a conversation with the National Agriculture Minister in regard to this, because during the MTech, there will be that opportunity where money must come, because you cannot have a situation, because when I saw with the economic classification of the budgets in terms of the MTEF, actually the 25-26 is where it will have a negative impact. And when you look at the outer year, it might look far much better, but if you compare to now, it's nothing. And then it talks to what my colleague mentioned about the post. So for me, that there's an opportunity to the GNU. How will that minister use that opportunity to speak with a colleague at the national level in regard to adjusting that budget? Because it's really peanuts. Thank you very much. So it's not a question. I'm learning, but I'm preempting that this is what I'll be interested in. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prof. Mbombo. I know that I missed Casidra to provide the answers. You will have the opportunity once the 3 members have asked the questions. We'll also give you the slot to answer that question with regards to food gardens. Honorable Bringes.
Thank you very much, Chair. And, thank you very much to the department for the very comprehensive presentation. Yes, indeed, Minister, we are going to have a very fruitful 5 years in a very good working relationship going forward. I'm very happy and glad to hear that amongst the priorities of the department will be agricultural infrastructure. I want to bring it to the attention of the department that our local breadbasket here in Cape Town, the well-known area, Scarpkraal, Philippi, agricultural land, they are, with the last couple of weeks, months, perpetual rain, they are experiencing a lot of difficulty in terms of their roads, the condition of their roads. In fact, the condition of their roads is in a disastrous condition. I wanted to ask the department if they are aware about this disastrous condition of the roads in Scarpkraal and Philippi area, and if there's any plans in place to mitigate and to make sure that those disastrous roads are prepared for the upcoming season when the harvesting is going to take place. That area being a breadbasket of Cape Town in the Western Cape area, I'm sure the department will prioritize and look into that situation there. in making sure that those roads are properly, they call it, tarred, and so that the farmers can go about doing their business there in the area. My second question is with regard to the Matsikama municipality. I wanted to find out from the department that in this strategic planning that the department is speaking about in the next financial year, how much funding is actually allocated how much funding is allocated for the Matsikama farmers. My office has been inundated with complaints from the Matsikama farmers that they have the land, they've got the water, they've got the skill, all they need is the capital, all they need is funding for them to start farming and for them to grow their businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Ngondlo.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think it's still morning. So good morning to colleagues, and let me also just say Happy Women's Month to all the women who are in the House, from the departments and ourselves. Chair, I want to start where the HOD, I think, ended with the key messages. I think I want to start on the issue of climate change as a threat to the sector, and interested to check whether the department to date has necessarily had an analysis or some investigation of the impact of climate change, which I think, we've been talking about climate change since COP17 to date, so this is not supposedly to be a shock to all of us who are coming from drought here in this province. So appreciating the energy of the minister, I think one would have expected that at this point would be, normalizing climate change approaches or management in as far as agriculture is concerned. So I think for me, I think that is something that is important to sort of look at, appreciating what Minister is raising about raising it as an item in cabinet, which hopefully as such will bring some result. But I think I would just want to understand whether is there, because even in the strategic, I think the colleague doctor there was mentioning, I think the strategic projects. I'm not seeing in the strategic projects whether there is anything related to climate change within the department, and I would want to understand why or where does it sit in the different programs of the department, this issue of climate change and its impact on agriculture. The second issue I would also want to check is on the issue of biosecurity. Which I think if one looks, there has been, I think, recent reports, I think we've got an EU ban of almost 10 years on South Africa's red meat industry. And my question is the impact, what percentage does it affect, ourselves here in the Western Cape, given the fact that, we take about almost half of the agricultural exports of the country. And what are we doing? And I'm concerned, it's so unfortunate, Chairperson, that we had to deal with the introduction to us as the new members, but also deal with the APP at the same time. Perhaps colleagues can also share with me, because when I look at the book, the blue book, from page 125 around program 4 of veterinary services, whilst HOD you have mentioned the reality of bringing down targets because of budgets, I'm very worried with the fact that we're sitting with an opportunity that is lost because of the EU ban, on red meat. But also, if you consider, if one looks at what the veterinary services targets from 2020, I think the targets are all going down. if one looks at them in terms of the last financial year, and you look at, I think, page 126, if one looks at reducing the level of risk of associated with food, and meat products. So I'm just worried, and perhaps you can mention what are other interventions that the department would be taking up, because I am sure if we're talking about jobs, obviously, if we're unable to open up that EU as the biggest market for our red meat, and also I think on the issue of brine, which is also an issue for the South African chicken product. So I'm interested on how is the department with the industry actually managing those kind of issues, so that at least we can see, I think, what you have raised about trying to deal with the cost of food production from a point of job creation. My last two, Chair, is that, in the, I think there is a mention here of the households, that are food insecure. And you are correct, Minister. I think since your time as a Minister of Finance, I've followed MERO, like my Bible, and thank you for that education. But one is interested, Chair, if you consider slide 34 of the presentation of the department, that if we talk about households that are food insecure in the province, are we able, HOD, to drill down to which are these households that we are talking about? Actually, in slide 34, I think if one considers the outcome and the sub-outcome there, I think on improving food security and safety, one would look there that 2.1 says increase access to community household produced food and the likes. Are we able to know which are these households, which areas, which municipalities? Because obviously, as people that are saying we are data-led, evidence-led, obviously we can't talk about a generic household. Where are these households? Which are food insecure, and we know, I think MERO is one of those research reports that helps us, to drill down and understand where exactly do we find these households. So I'm interested in as far as this particular outcome is concerned, what is the number of these households and where are they, so that we are able also, in our oversight to follow you in your quarterly reports when you come back to us here. And the last one is on the graduates. I heard that I think some of the bursaries are provided up to masters. Can you just indicate to us how many masters graduates have actually came through the funding of the department? And do you have information of where are those? You spoke about them actually doing some internships or learnerships, others in the farms. Post that, do you have a tracking? Are you able to trace whether post them doing internships, are they absorbed into jobs? Do they start businesses, agri-businesses on themselves? What actually is the end game? Because it's one thing to be on the pipeline of skilling. What is important is the end game. Where do they land? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Ngondlo. Honorable members, we are left with roughly 5 minutes to wrap up, as we need to be in another session. We still have got questions that needs to be answered, and I still have questions obviously to ask, and I will take cue from honorable members as to how we're going to handle the next 5 minutes. But before that, I just want to allow Honorable Vessel to pose his questions, and then we can deliberate as to how we're going to really handle the answers going forward. Thank you, Honorable Vessel.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I won't be long. Firstly, I think I firstly want to congratulate the department. I think over the last couple of years, what you've done in the
Honourable
rural
Vessel,
safety space.
can you get mic closer to?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Sorry.
And
Vessel, get your mic closer.
Closer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I firstly want to congratulate you, I think, on the rural safety space and especially on the export vision. I really think, I think the department did a phenomenal job on that. The one thing that I'm sort of unsure of, and especially with the strategic vision of the minister, is the department's role in terms of gravel roads. If we talk exports, if we talk job creation, I think the current state of the gravel roads, and I know it's not necessarily a function of the department, but with all the collaborations that you have within the various agricultural sectors, I think that is something that can maybe be explored, as I think there might be a significant benefit in that. And then in terms of Casidra, I know the minister spoke about rooibos, and I raised him honeybush. And so I would just like to know, I know the Casidra was a couple of years ago quite involved in Haarlem, Uniondale, Oudtshoorn with regards to projects, specifically with regards to honeybush. But yeah, I sort of lost that trail. So I just want to know whether anything specifically is happening in that space, because I know there was quite a bit of excitement offshore with regards to that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Vessel. Honourable members, I have got a few questions that I also want to sponsor. But I was wondering if the department cannot be requested to also come back, because my conversation with the HOD from DTAT was that their presentation is not that long. So we can obviously allow them to prep the answers. And then when we meet on the 20th, then they can really provide us with the answers. Alternatively, if members will prefer that route, is that the department can provide written answers to the questions that were posed, because we do not have as much time. So I'm open to suggestion, members.
Sorry, Chair, just in terms of clarity, are you suggesting that we still have the presentation from DDAT after this, or that we close after your questions? I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure what the proposition is.
Okay, the proposition is that if I'm correct, a procedural officer, we're supposed to be ending now at 12. We're supposed to be ending at 12, so we left with 1 minute. So the proposition was that the department will come back on the 20th when we have a visual meeting, and then together with DTAT, DTAT indicated that with the entities, Westgro and Atlantis, SES, is it SES? Yeah, and then they will obviously come back and then provide obviously answers to the questions that were sponsored by members. And then from there on, then we go into DTAT and its own entities. Honourable Constable.
Chair, if I may propose that the questions that were already raised here by the members, that those questions can be answered through maybe an email or so, but it did come back, and then we only deal that day with that specific presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Is that okay, members? All right. Thank you. So the Department of Agriculture, you will provide us with the written questions. I'm just going to try and run quickly my questions. Thank you once again for your presentation. I do note that your focus area On the first, what was the slide number? Let me just go to the slide number quickly. Ministerial priorities is agri-support, business support, food security and nutrition, and market access. I do just want to really highlight, maybe, you can really engage us on these issues, the farm workers issues that obviously constantly get raised with regards to living and working conditions. The transportations as well as part of that, maybe, they could be included in this ministerial priorities. If you can also provide us a report with regards to your actions around those areas. The other area that I just wanted to know is that the minister did indicate that he has been dealing with disaster since he's taken office. I just want to know what has been the cost to date from the disaster, from the department and obviously from other departments. I know that you've got a very small budget that deals with disaster. In terms of the vacancy rates, are there any cost implication in terms of things that you are not able to fulfill as a department? And if there is, what measures have you got in place to just ensure that you mitigate those kind of risks? You also spoke about the non-formal short courses. We've got Valhalla High School students here. Can they also take the opportunity with those, by taking part in those non-formal short courses of 2 to 10 days? Because I'm sure some of them will want to do agriculture and they don't have agriculture as a course at school. Can they be given an opportunity to participate in those 2 to 10 days? And where can they find the information if they want to do that? The other point the finance CFO indicated was the biological system impact. How do we plan this? Because, agriculture is about biological assets. And if with the budget situation that you're sitting with, you have got this biological system impact, it means that agriculture is impacted. Whatever that you have got planned to do is impacted and it's not going to really be achieved. I think the question really is, how do you plan, or what are the mitigant strategies to really deal with that problem? You also talked about 17,000 farmers in the province. Do this number include the smallholders, the garden, maybe just break it down for us to just indicate what are the smallholders, what are the food gardens, and all those numbers that we will help us to just obviously focus in terms of our oversight. Dr. Drosky, I think, or Dr. Drosky or HOD did indicate that they did a study, obviously, with PELS to determine the success rate. I think maybe just who does what, in terms of, is it the department zooming into PELS to analyze its own studies, or is PELS conducting their own study and share with you, or what is the relationship there in terms of really looking at that study? Okay, so yeah, I think I am covered. All right, yeah, this is now to Casidra. Casidra, I think you did indicate that you have got, you impacted about your impact in terms of number. You talk about the value of the project delivered is 155 million rands. Just to just help members understand, I think we will probably do a proper presentation. We will invite you to just really unpack for us in terms of value creation from Casidra. I will probably just, because I wanted to ask that, but I think since the proposal was that, Casidra come and really unpack, maybe, we can do that in terms of the presentation. I did joke, but I think it wasn't really a joke with the minister, that when I look at the senior staff of Casidra, it's all male heavy, you know. I think it's something that the CEO will have to address. There's only one female out of how many? 9? Yeah, out of 9. So, yeah, I just thought that it's coincident that, you know, that presentation was just loud in my face in Women's Month, you know. Yeah, so those are my questions, colleague. But the one matter that I just want to really, before I leave, is that the HOD did put a challenge to the other HOD to say agriculture is not responsible for food insecurity. When she appeared before this committee, will help us to unpack as to how the economic development and tourism is going to help this province, this beautiful province of ours, to increase employment, to ensure that our people have got enough access to food. The 4% of people that have got, you know, that can produce their own food is a worrying number. But I think there are flaws in the number, if I may say, because there are obviously other commercial farmers and so forth that are really producing food for themselves. So maybe that number could be revised in terms of really looking at it and present it. But from my side, it is concerning that only 4% is able to produce their own food. And secondly, the Department of Agriculture said, no, we're not really responsible for food insecurity. We have got enough food. You must provide enough jobs so that, you know, people can be able to buy food. So I close with those words. And I must also just declare to Mr. Honorable Constable that my wife is from the Karoo, Beaufort West. So don't you worry, you've got enough Karoo in this house. You're not alone. Okay, Honorable Member.
Thanks, Chair. Sorry, just very quickly, I know we have resolved that the department will provide written responses. That obviously will apply to Casidra as well, in terms of, because they haven't responded yet. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. The Casidra, you'll also provide us with written response, and then the rest we will communicate with the department. Honorable members, there are obviously, you know, those are the few resolutions with regards to our meeting. I'm going to excuse the department and thank you very much. Thank you, Minister. Do we have, do you, I want to hand over to procedural officer has got something to say. Sorry.
Chairperson, I think you could have said it yourself, but nonetheless, I shall oblige. Please, on behalf of the chairperson and the committee, there's a small finger lunch that has been prepared for everybody in the members' lounge. It would be great if you could join us, and the chairperson specifically indicated that officials are driving from far and a bit of sustenance would be appreciated. So please enjoy, and committee members will meet you shortly in the members' lounge. Thank you. Chairperson.
You did a good job. Honorable members, while they are obviously being dismissed,
Just keep it at
if you can really be, you know, quiet as you leave the room, because we're still having our proceedings. Do you want to assist me with the resolutions? With what? With the resolutions. Honorable Honorable Stoffel, we have 2 items to just finish off. the resolutions as to, what you would want in terms of going forward from the presentation. And secondly, the minutes of our last meeting to adopt. Do you want to put up the minutes maybe? Let's do the minutes quickly. This was the minutes of the Standing Committee meeting on Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism. Just go through. It was the election of chairperson. The minutes has been circulated. Can we adopt the minutes?
Chairperson, I propose that we accept the minutes and adopt.
Honorable Constable proposed that we adopt the minutes. Thank you.
Chair, I'll second. Thanks.
Next item, obviously, is the resolution with regards to going forward. I do take note of Honorable Ngondlo with regards to climate change. And I think, in my view, it's an area that we probably need to go just dive a little bit deeper. With regards to the red meat impact and percentage and so forth, I think it's more a national competency with regards to export protocols. But it doesn't really take away, us from really intimately engaging and even inviting the national to come and maybe brief us. I saw an article just this week regarding the meat export to EU. The one area that I think we have agreed is that CACIDRA will definitely need to engage CACIDRA fully to just understand its mandate and how it's really executing its duties. Is there any other items that maybe you feel is important to add? Honorable Bringes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, if it's possible for the committee to, in the coming maybe weeks or months, to have oversight at the Philippi Scarpcrawl agricultural area, to just do an assessment on the ground of what is the extent of the damage, that those roads are in a disastrous condition. So if it's possible, maybe in the next few weeks or months, to do oversight at the Philippi agricultural area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to check whether one can add question. I could not have the chance to ask to CACIDRA, so that when they come back, because my understanding is that they are going to come back on the 20th and respond to our questions. So can I be allowed to forward to the committee coordinator questions to CACIDRA? Okay. And then my last point would be, would the 20th also be the date to discuss the committee program, which will include suggestions like what Member Bringes is raising? I'm just asking.
Yeah. Okay, so honorable members, we obviously, underestimated the load of presentations that these two departments carried. The idea is that when we have that meeting on the 20th, we'll also look at the program, which we have kind of worked on, looking at the past. I will obviously engage with you to with regards to what we have got in mind, and then we can really chart the way forward. So yes, the 20th we can definitely, once we have had DTAT completed its presentation, I think we'll have enough time to maybe just dwell on that one. The issue of CACIDRA, remember what we have agreed is that the Department of Agriculture, which CACIDRA is part of it as its entity, will not be coming back. They will be sponsoring their questions in writing writing back to us. So we will obviously, that question, you're welcome to give to our procedural officer to put the question. So on the 20th, we'll have obviously DDAT and its two entities. Is it two entities? Three entities. And then from there, then we will look at our program. Yeah, thanks. Prof?
Just to add that it will be hybrid for that one, because some of us who are spread all over committees, we can be able to do one after alternate week for the sitting during the time that we are also chairing the committees. So it means that the 20th will be hybrid. Some of us will not be able to be in the house, the physical.
So I think,
alternate.
Yeah, the reason why we invited the two departments to come here was that at least, you know, we meet them physically, all of them, during this sitting. So next sitting we'll do visual. We knew that we might not get to economic development. So yes, our next sitting will be virtual. It won't be physical. It won't be hybrid. Let me put it this way. It will be visual. If there's a requirement for hybrid, we can also, I mean, members can indicate. But our plan is to have it visual. And then we will talk when we engage on committee program to see how many, you know, in-person engagement are we looking for going forward.
So the last part on the resolution on the climate change, I didn't hear. What are we saying exactly? The reason that I'm interested in it, because there is a whole of government response to climate change, which is almost all or three departments are involved in, where like local government, where they've got their preparedness for that. And then now in review that the presidency has signed the climate change bill. So I'm not sure whether probably for this committee, we might just probably want to only have the agriculture to do the presentation, or probably just to provide like the Western Cape government response. And also that part now for the agriculture or economy around that, because there's one document and then with the different components. I don't know.
I think the resolution, in my view, is that climate change is an area that we definitely need to provide an effective oversight on it in terms of programs that are ensuring that we tackle the climate change. As you have also seen that I've sponsored a question with regards to biological assets, because agriculture is about its biological asset as well as infrastructure, as Honorable Brinker has said. So we will put it on the item of agenda, but I think we will get to the detail as to how we're going to handle it during that committee programming. Not committee programming, but committee engagement with regards to our program. Honorable members, if there is no further input, the meeting is adjourned. And really, thank you very much for your indulgence. We are not dealing with a small department. We're dealing with a big department. I didn't realize this until today.